Well, good morning, and thank you to HCI for this wonderful opportunity to be here in front of you today. I'm a native Bostonian, and I just want to echo the previous speaker to say this is a great city, and we're thrilled to be here. When American Dental Partners came to us to help them develop their Leadership Institute, we were thrilled to partner with them. However, we could not have foreseen what an amazing program they put together. As someone who has spent a career helping organizations develop outstanding leaders, I was truly impressed, and I am completely inspired by what they have done. I can tell you the inspiration of Greg Sorreo, the CEO, coupled with the work that Patricia Duncan has done, an amazing vision, and just an amazing organizational camaraderie to come together, to pull this together, has been just overwhelming, and I'm so moved by what they have done. Hay Group is truly pleased to be a partner in this journey, and I am thrilled to introduce to you the woman behind the initiative, Vice President of Organizational Development for American Dental Partners, Patricia Duncan.
To Christine. And I also want to thank the Hay Group overall. As Christine mentioned, they've been a strategic partner for us over the years. And as you'll see through our work of the Leadership Institute, a lot of their work has become the foundation of our program. So thank you very much. All right, so who is American Dental Partners? Well, I'll keep it simple. It's a very complex business, but American Dental Partners, we are a dental practice management company. So what does that mean? We, first of all, we've grown through acquisition primarily over the years, although more recently over the last probably 3 to 4 years, we've had a lot of organic growth, but we're a size of roughly 4,000 people across the United States, and we are locally branded, which means that in the states in which we do business, so there are 20 states across the United States that we do business, we are locally branded, and you can see there are all the various brands that we're associated with here. So we acquire dental group practices, and what we do is we provide the non-clinical, or we manage the non-clinical business aspects. So we manage technology, we manage people, and we manage capital. And what this allows dentists to in turn do is they can then focus on what they do best, which is caring for patients. So we take care of the business, and they take care of the business, they take care of the patients, and it's a marriage made in heaven. You can see that we are located all across the United States, just indicated by these blue dots, which creates a lot of challenges for us. Our corporate headquarters, if you will, although we call ourselves a resource group, corporate headquarters in our organization is somewhat of a dirty word. So if Greg heard me say it, he wouldn't be proud of that. But we're a resource group, and we operate out of Wakefield, Massachusetts, so I am also local and proud to be part of this great area, New England area. And some of the challenges that we face as an organization is, as we acquired dental group practices across the United States, as you all know, I'm sure many of you have been involved in mergers and acquisitions, when people come on board, they already have their cultures established. They already have their norms established. You don't say, welcome to American Dental Partners, here's your new culture, right? So that takes time. So that was one of the challenges that we face is, how do we parlay and help people internalize our culture that was so near and dear to who we are across this challenging business environment? The other challenge that we had is we're in the dental business. We provide dental care. We're actually in the service business, I should say, but in the service business, we provide dental care. And the dentists, when they come on board with us, they're largely accustomed to being independent, controlling, making decisions. And when they come on with American Dental Partners, a lot of that changes, right? Because we, again, manage the non-clinical aspects of the business, the technology, the people, and the capital. So their world changes too, and that's a big transformation for them. And then the last challenge that I mentioned, again, because we are geographically dispersed, and the fact that we are patient-facing, the majority of the 4,000 plus people in our organization are facing face-to-face with patients every day. They're not sitting in front of computers, they're not sitting in meetings, they're not available for WebExes and conferences, and so communicating with them is very difficult. So as we thought through this challenge of, in order to have a successful and enduring organization, how do we do that? And we knew we had to bring everybody together to create this one voice and this one culture. And that's where the idea for Leadership Institute came from. I'd like to share with you a quick video from our president and CEO, Greg Sorreo, and share his thoughts on how we came to introduce the Leadership Institute to American Dental Partners. So we could see the video, please.
The inspiration behind the Leadership Institute came from our real desire to build a company that would endure for many generations. A company that, so to speak, is built to last. We, in about 2001 timeframe, had started to do a lot of work around what made great companies great. And one theme that was consistent through all of these great companies is they cultivated leadership throughout the organization. And that makes sense when you think about it, because how else can you have a company go on for generation if you don't have succession plans in place, and you can't have succession if you don't cultivate your leaders. So we thought about what leadership meant to us, what type of leadership we wanted at the organization, what type of leadership was enduring leadership, and we thought that the kind of leadership we wanted was motivational and inspirational leadership. People that can motivate and inspire others to go beyond what they thought they can achieve on their own.
Okay. So where do we start from? You heard a few words from Greg there in terms of we wanted to build an enduring organization. So our purpose when we started thinking about the Leadership Institute, and again, what did we want to get from this? Our purpose for the Leadership Institute was to build an enduring organization, because we would like American Dental Partners to be there for years and years and years to come, long after we're all gone, I'll say. And how do you do that? How do you create that enduring organization? Well, of course, you do that through the people in the organization. You do that through leaders. So our purpose with Leadership Institute was to achieve that, we call it, our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal is to achieve that enduring organization through the development of our leaders. And in turn, our organizational goal, so that was our goal for Leadership Institute, or our purpose, I should say, but our organizational goal is to deliver on an exceptional patient experience. And so we'll do that through our people, right? Again, we're in a service business, so in a service business, you deliver your product, if you will, through your people, okay? So commitment to exceptional patient care and experience is always in front and center in all that we do. And to build this enduring organization, we've heard a lot over the last day and a half here about the importance of culture, right? And we're no strangers to that. We also know and believe how important culture is to the success of an organization. And we have an extremely strong foundation in our culture, and our term for our culture is called healthy organization. And our healthy organization culture is founded on 4 principles. The first is building cohesive leadership teams, which again was one of the goals of Leadership Institute, is to work to build those cohesive leadership teams. It's to establish organizational clarity. It's to over-communicate, and it's to ensure that our human systems support that healthy, all that we do in that healthy organization culture. And then that's grounded on our values. Right? So we also have a strong sense of values, which helps guide us to understand how we behave, really, okay? What are the attributes and competencies that we value in the organization? And that became the foundation for our Leadership Institute program. If we start here and we get to help people to internalize that culture and our value systems and who we are, who we want to become, we want to be this enduring organization. We want to make sure that front and center is our commitment to our patient care so that we can improve oral health care in the communities that we serve. And that's our vision. And that's what we want our leaders to internalize. So we start our Leadership Institute program there. This is a high-level overview of our program, but if we start there, we start to internalize, our culture, our value systems, and who we are as an organization and where we want to go within the people in our organization. And once they start to internalize that, as you know, they become role models of it. They go out into their practices, again, geographically dispersed. I'm not there every day, our CEO isn't there every day, our OD team, et cetera. We're not with these people who are patient-facing every day. And so what we need to do is we need to get it here for them, so that when they go out and they work with their teams and they care for patients, what we value is right here. So we start there. And then you see these sort of boxes here, if you will, which is, in turns, our partnership with the Hay Group, where we established this, and really the credit goes to the Hay Group here for this content. But what we did is we partnered with them to develop it in a way that is meaningful for our business. And we focus on motives and values. We focus on emotional and social intelligence, and I'll say that emotional and social intelligence for us is really the cornerstone of our program. It's where people make connections with their strengths and their areas for opportunity, and it's where people start to learn how to manage themselves, because first you have to learn how to manage yourself before you can manage others, of course. And so that's really the cornerstone of our program. But actually where we start, and we do this purposely because we want to hook people right out of the gate, is we actually start with climate. And just maybe give you a simple context for climate. Climate is the environment or the atmosphere that we as leaders create. So when we talk about climate, we're not talking about organizational climate in the sense of what the organization creates, but what you as a leader creates. So in the Leadership Institute, we start with climate, and we start by, they actually go through a survey process. They take the organizational climate survey, again, a tool through the Hay Group that we use, and they get feedback on their very second learning module of Leadership Institute. And what they learn is the climate that they create, the perception of the climate that they create. And what that helps is get them immediately engaged in, oh my goodness, this is what I'm creating? Good or bad, right? And a lot of times what we see is very positive, but there's always opportunity, and a lot of times we see a lot of opportunity, I'll say. And so that's the hook. As soon as they say, oh my gosh, this is what I'm creating, what can I do about that? How can I be a better leader? Then we start to move through the leadership styles and the emotional and social intelligence and the motives and values, so they know that it's their behavior and how they react and how they behave in situations that drives climate. And they start to understand the triggers of what's going to move the needle to create a more positive climate. And when you do that and you start to understand the foundation of all of that, you start to see how you can move the needle on results. And again, for us, remember, results is delivering exceptional patient care through building leaders in our organization so we can have an enduring organization. And oh, by the way, if people are happy and they're in a positive climate, they're going to give patients that better experience, and then the revenue will come, right? So we look at that as an outcome for our results. So we start them on this journey and this foundation of understanding, again, the impact that they're having on others, and give them lots of tools and resources to better manage themselves. And we spend time on how can they more effectively communicate as leaders, and we use a program called Social Styles to do that. And we spend a lot of time on conflict management. We all know that conflict management is a very important part of our lives, right? Not only our work lives, but our personal lives. And we help them to learn techniques and ways to better manage through conflict. And listening. Listening, as we all know, is part of the foundation of what makes good leaders great. And it's one of the probably least taught skills, I'll say, out there. And so we spend a lot of time on listening and, of course, influencing. It's especially important in our business model, but for any leader, influencing is important. Anyone who has the opportunity to impact another has an opportunity to learn here for influencing. So I could literally spend a day talking to you about all the content of our program, but I wanted to give you a high-level overview of what we cover in our Leadership Institute program, and this is that snapshot. Okay, so who participates in our Leadership Institute program? When the Leadership Institute was first introduced, which was back in 2005, I actually joined the organization in 2008, but when Leadership Institute was first introduced, how we selected people to participate in the Leadership Institute program was really more management selection. So our CEO and our COO and our CFO and our OD leader at the time worked together to say, I think it was more positional. Why don't we have this director of operations, and why don't we have that doctor leader, and why don't we have, so it was more positional. So people were sort of tapped and said, why don't you join this program? And when I had an opportunity to come on board in 2008 and evaluate the program and to get some feedback, one of the things that I learned is everybody that was in the program didn't necessarily either A, want to be there, or 2, deserve to be there. It's a significant investment that the organization makes in individuals, and it's frankly, it's a privilege to be there. And I saw that some people were taking advantage of that. So we looked at how can we build more rigor in our system to ensure that we have the right people, that we're investing in the right people across our organization. And that led us to create what we call a nomination process. And what the nomination process consists of is we now have a senior leader across the organization, either clinical or non-clinical, actually nominate someone for Leadership Institute. And we established a set of criteria that they have to meet. So a senior leader in our organization nominates somebody. And then from there, it's not over, because Leadership Institute, first of all, it's a 4-year program. And so it's a long journey, and it's a very significant time commitment, not only from in terms of attending classroom and whatnot, but a time commitment outside of the classroom, because of course you have to apply what you learn. And so we added what we call an essay process to the nomination process. So once you're nominated and you meet this set of criteria, you're then invited to complete an essay. And the essay asks you things like, what does leadership mean to you? What would you like to get out of this experience? What do you believe to be your strengths and your leadership style? And what experiences have you had that have impacted you in a positive or a negative way that has helped form who you are? So we have them write an essay. And that does a couple different things. One, anyone who's not willing to take the time or energy to write the essay filters themselves out. So that's great. So if they don't want to take the time and energy to complete the essay, they're not considered for the program. And that filters out anybody who's not in it for the right reasons. The second thing it does is it helps for people who continue and go on to get selected for the program. It helps them focus on what they want to get out of the program. So it helps to start that whole process of what's important to them and what do they want to change. And then lastly is it helps us to make our selection decisions. So myself and our CEO and our COO and the other folks involved in the Leadership Institute program and the organizational development team, we all read the essays, we meet together as a group, and we discuss the quality of the essays, and we select participants. And it's been amazing what this process has done for the program, because it has really increased not only the quality of participants in the class, but it's increased the quality of the experience of those people in the class. Because the people who are there for the right reasons, and they want to be there, and they want to learn, and they want to grow, and they want to develop. And that is shared collectively amongst all the participants, so it's really increased the quality of the experience. And then in turn, this has helped continue to further the reputation of the Leadership Institute program across American Dental Partners, and it's increased the demand. We literally have people banging down our door wanting to participate in the Leadership Institute program, and that has just been an awesome outcome. So that's who participates in Leadership Institute and the process that we go through to determine who's in the program. So just to kind of lay this out conceptually for you, the various components of our Leadership Institute program, we have our learning modules. We have survey feedback, because of course, you know, feedback is an important part of the self-awareness journey, so that's a critical piece in our program. And we have what we'll call accountability, and I'll explain all these to you in a moment. And across all that is their learning plan, their opportunity to apply what they've learned. So let's break these down a little bit here. So our learning modules, first of all, we have the program itself, again, is a 4-year program. We have 12 learning modules over the course of those 4 years. So they participate in 3 learning modules per year. Each module is a day and a half, and most people have to travel for that. And just a quick aside, we either offer them in our Wakefield office here locally, or we offer them in field locations. Still, most people have to travel with that. And the interesting thing, back to demand, we have more and more doctors that want to be a part of this program. And in order for them to be a part of the program, of course, like everybody, they have to take the time to travel and to be there. So that ends up being probably about a 2.5-day to 3-day commitment, depending on where they're coming from. And when doctors aren't seeing patients, they're not making money. So they elect to participate in this program and give up that precious time, if you will, the production time, we call it, and they're not making money while they're there. And we're seeing the increase in demand and doctors' participation going up and up despite that, which is, again, quite awesome. So the 4-year program, 12 learning modules, day-and-a-half commitment, 3 per year, kind of give you the construct of the program. And then let me break down for each learning module, how do we build each learning module? Well, first of all, we start every module with a review of the previous module to reinforce what they've learned. And I mentioned to that term the learning plan, or you could also term it their homework, but their learning plan is something that we also review at the start of every class to help build in accountability and help build in, again, this whole learning process. So they're accountable to come back and share what they did or how they applied that concept, and have another opportunity to get feedback from the class around things that went well and things that they could consider or do differently to continue to hone that skill. So we start there. And then we introduce the concept. So whatever the new concept is in that particular module, as we start to introduce that concept. We have, like others, we're very rich in exercises. We believe very much in sharing conceptually what this is and then having people start to apply it. So we do that in the classroom, we do that outside the classroom. Feedback is a very important component of our Leadership Institute program as well. So they have an opportunity to get survey feedback in most of the 12 modules. And then they incorporate what they've learned and what they're going to work on into this learning plan. They leave us and they go apply it. So let me just talk you through one of our modules that we have is centered on motives and values. So of course we start by reviewing what we did in the prior module and sharing of their learning plan. And then for this particular module, we get right into an exercise when they start, and this comes a little bit later in the program. So they already have, great bonds and relationships with those people in class. But we start with an exercise. We have all these beautiful personal pictures laid out on a table, and we ask them to go select one of those personal pictures and to write a story about it, and to write a story about why they connected with it, what was meaningful to them in that particular photo, and why they connected with it. So at the onset, they think the purpose of this is just that, to write a story, talk about why they connected with it, and share that, which is what we do. But we actually come back to this later on in the program, and I'll tell you that in a moment. But in selecting that picture, writing the story, and sharing the meaning, it just opens the class right out of the gate for people to be vulnerable, to start sharing, and to start sort of letting people in to what's in here. And that sets a sort of a tone and a dynamic in the class that's really quite awesome. So then we move into teaching conceptually about motives and values and the difference between motive and a value and how those drive behaviors. And we set all that up. And we actually come back to that exercise that I mentioned, the personal picture exercise, and we start to help them understand through stories and through their writing how they can, I'll use the Hay Group word, the decode their motive. So they can start to learn what are their underlying beliefs that drive their thoughts and their behaviors. So when they write that story at the beginning, they don't necessarily know they're going to learn how to decode that, and that's exactly what we do later on in the module. So they learn all about motives and values. We do another great exercise around where they spend their time, and they do a lot of reflection around what their role requires and if they're spending their time in the right places, essentially, and that's another great exercise. But what I want to share with what we conclude with in this particular module is what we call an empowering speech. So in class, each person has an opportunity to write an empowering speech. And as leaders, there's 3 primary motives, and one of the motives that we want to operate from as leaders is our power motive, which is empowering, okay? So we teach them how to communicate through this power motive. And there's this exercise that's centered around, we call it the head, heart, and hands message. So they construct a message in class that hits the head, gives people the big picture, hits the heart, connects with people emotionally, and hits the hands, which is the call to action. What do you want people to do as a result of what you've shared? And in this particular module, I'll share a story of a doctor who constructed this message in class. And part of their learning plan is they construct it in class, they share it with their accountability partner in class, which I'll define in a moment. It's someone they're sharing with and getting feedback. And then they actually role play it for the class, and the whole class gets an opportunity to give them feedback. And then when they leave that particular module, they have to then go out and deliver it. And this one doctor, I'll give you an example, he constructed that, he did all that in class, and he went out and delivered it to his dental group. He was a doctor leader, or what we call an owner, in this particular dental group. And what he shared was just powerful and impactful, and it made a huge difference in the climate and really the culture at the dental group that he was a part of. What he shared was a personal experience of his. He was having a pretty significant medical situation in his own life. And so he was receiving care through a number of different hospital systems. And through that experience, he started to think about, you know what, I'm a provider, and now I'm a patient. And he started to see through the lens of, or the eyes of a patient, what's important when receiving care and what's important to people, how to treat them, how to address them, how to interact with them, how to put their needs first. So we started to see that from the eyes of the patient. You see there's a very personal story about that. And what he's realized is his dental group, the dental group that he's worked for a number of years, has lost their way. And they're looking through their lens of their provider lens and what they need, and have lost sight of that patient focus. And what he did is he asked those dentists to remember why they got into the field in the first place and what they set out to do. And he connected with them with that emotional story about himself personally. And then he asked them to change. And he said, we need to get back to our roots of why we became dentists in the first place. And these words and this value system and this culture can't just be on the wall. We have to live it. And he set sort of that call to action for everybody to change. And an outcome of that has been over time that we have definitely seen that occur. And one of the outcomes of that is the patients, one of the things patients want in our field is they want evening and weekend appointments. And the providers were unwilling to do that because it inconvenienced them. And over time, with him being the catalyst to start these discussions and whatnot, that's exactly what they've done. They now offer evening and weekends appointments, and that is what our patients want. So it's been a very kind of awesome outcome. So just an example of something that's come out of the program. So that's the construct of the modules themselves, an example of one of our modules. And then the other piece is the survey feedback. So we actually have 10 surveys that people take over the course of this 4-year period. Some of them are repeats. So for example, the emotional intelligence competency inventory, they take at the beginning, and they also take it sort of 3/4 of the way through. They do the same with leadership styles survey. We use organizational climate survey that they take twice. And so they do each of those surveys twice so they can see where they've moved the needle. So we can give them a baseline of where they're at when they start the program. And towards the end of the program, they can see where they move the needle. So that's a very important part of our program. And the other thing that we've learned as facilitators is, although feedback is a gift, and we do say that feedback is a gift because that's how we learn more about ourselves and that's how we can change and be better, it's also very emotional. And so as facilitators, we've had to learn to be open to what people are experiencing when they get feedback and be ready to connect with them on that emotional level, whether they be sad or upset about something that they've learned, or they may be excited about progress that they've made. So as facilitators, we always have to be open and keyed into that so that they can get the absolute most out of what they're learning through that survey feedback. We also ask them to conduct feedback meetings. So they receive this survey feedback in class. We have an opportunity to coach and analyze it together. And when they leave there, we ask them to actually work with their rater groups, the people who provided them feedback, to further dive into what they've learned. And that's kind of serves two purposes. One, we thank people for giving us feedback and let them know that we're listening and we care. And the second thing is we have an opportunity to learn more about where our opportunities lie. So we ask them to conduct those feedback meetings. And then once they do that, we ask them to incorporate what they learned back into their learning plan, because it's always a cycle of learning and evaluating and applying so that the change that we desire happens. So that's the survey process. And then there's the accountability piece. You know, as I do, that the accountability piece is a very important part of learning. And so we build accountability in at a number of different levels. First, we build in self-accountability. When people are nominated for the program and they complete that essay, one of the other things that they do is they literally sign off on, and we heard how powerful a signature can be, right, yesterday? But they sign off on a particular commitment statement in terms of they commit to be present for the learning modules, they commit to carry out their learning plans, they commit to all the conditions, if you will, of the program, and that we build in that self-accountability right up front through that selection process. And then we build in peer accountability. I mentioned the term accountability partners. Everyone, and actually in the first module that people attend, they select their accountability partner, which is, in our words, it's really their peer coach. So we've built in peer coaching into the program. So they work with an accountability partner throughout the course of those 4 years. They do exercises in class with them, and maybe most importantly is when they leave class, they're accountable to work with their accountability partner or peer coach on their learning plan. So they're talking to each other at least once a month in between modules, which typically is 3 to 4 months, and they get that coaching. Right? And what's really, really impactful is that a lot of people select people in like roles. So we may have a general dentist in Texas select a general dentist in Minnesota, and why that's so powerful is you get to connect with someone who walks in your shoes, who lives what you live, but in a different space. And so what we found is it really helps to push on people, to stretch them, because you know what they do. And when they're having challenges or they're facing, you can be more deliberate and specific about how to approach them, and also be more honest when someone isn't facing a reality. So that's been a really powerful piece of our program. And then leaders. Of course, we need to incorporate leaders into the program as well for accountability. So leaders and people involved in the Leadership Institute and have graduated from the Leadership Institute are mentors to those people that are going through the program. And the survey feedback that they receive, they also share with their managers, and they go through, and so they have a learning connection with their leaders as well through that piece. And then coach, myself and the other individuals in the organizational development team that facilitate the Leadership Institute program, we're available to people as coaches, and we help people make connections with their survey feedback and help them just continue that sort of learning journey. So the accountability piece. And then, so there's a 4-year learning program, as I told you. We have to graduate. We have to celebrate our success. So we created a graduate module that concludes the program. And the graduation module, first of all, before I get into this, does anyone recognize who this is? Paul Revere, right? Very important and prominent person in history, and obviously in the Boston area. And I share with you for a couple different reasons. One of the things when we were designing the Leadership Institute graduation is we wanted to make it, first of all, we wanted to celebrate how far people have come. And we wanted to make it fun and memorable. So one of the things that we do is we spend time setting up connections between art and science and how those two work together. Through the course of the program, we spend a lot of time on the science of leadership. And in the graduation, we start to make all the connections about the art of it, which is the practice, right? It's how we apply. And we start to help them see that all along you've been applying art in leadership through your practice, which they haven't necessarily thought about. So that's really fun. We make those connections. But one of the things that we do is we actually take, you know, in the terms of trying to help them continue to experience the learning, we take them to the Museum of Fine Arts here in Boston, which is just a wonderful institution. And they get to experience the Museum of Fine Arts and see it in a light that we ask them to be open-minded and see it in a light that they may have not otherwise seen it. And we ask them to be open to all the messages of leadership and history and learning that are all around them. And the assignment that we ask of them when they're in the museum is to come back to connect with or share, come back and connect with 3 pieces that you see in the museum that capture your mind and your heart and why. And we have them share that when we return from that visit. And the reason we have them share that is to help connect themselves again with purpose. What hit them here and why, so they can start to unpack, I guess, I don't want to be deep, but their meaning of life. And that's important because in the last day of this graduation module or ceremony, prior to coming to class, we asked them to write their leadership legacy. What legacy do they want to leave at American Dental Partners and overall in life? And that visit to the museum opens their hearts and helps them connect with their meaning and the reflection they've done to create that leadership legacy. And they do share that with the class, which is very powerful. And the reason we do that is there's a lot, and I can't get into all of it just today, but most importantly is when they leave our program, we want them to leave with a guiding light, a roadmap, a vision of who they want to be, their ideal self versus where they are today. And we've given them the tools, the skills, and the abilities to get to be their ideal self. Now they know what that is, and that provides the roadmap for them when they leave the classroom environment, if you will, the program, to continue that learning. So that's how we conclude it. And how does this all string together? Well, we have some things that we call non-negotiables. We do demand, I'll say, and participation. We ask people to be involved in the Leadership Institute in mind, body, and spirit, and to be present. And that's a very important piece of it. Of course, everyone commits to maintaining confidentiality. Through the course of that 4 years, there's a lot of information shared around challenges, organizational challenges, challenges they have with various people, and so on and so forth. You can imagine what's shared. And so they have to commit to confidentiality. And the way that we get people to buy into that is through a rules of engagement process. So their very first class, we set up rules of engagement, and I don't tell them what they are. They tell me what they want their rules of engagement to be. What do they expect of one another? What's acceptable and unacceptable? And we put those, and each class creates their own rules of engagement, and they always hit the key things that are important. And we put those up at the beginning of every module to remind people, these are your rules of engagement. And that's what strings all this together. They've got to be open to learning, and they have to be open to being accountable and working with their accountability partners. So we call these the non-negotiables, which really create the culture for Leadership Institute, which is very closely aligned to the culture of our overall organization. And that's sort of the behind the scenes that makes it all work. I'd like to share with you a quick video when we were creating this. One of the things that we thought we should share with you are what are the benefits that people have experienced from the Leadership Institute. And instead of me sharing that with you, I wanted you to hear from one of the participants in the Leadership Institute program, Dr. Stephen Knoll. So if we could share that video.
So these are key words. We learned a lot about climate in leadership, and what type of climate you create. And that was something that I had with no awareness of, that I was creating a climate, the way I acted, the way I led. First, I learned that I was way too directive. I really needed to learn how to listen to people and incorporate what they were saying with my ideas, rather than just saying, okay, I agree with you, or your idea is no good. That really is not a way of getting buy-in with people. It's just been a blessing for me to meet people from other areas of the country that are having the same issues. We have a real bond when we go out for dinner after the first night, and it's just amazing that you can feel good about talking about very personal, intimate things with a group of people that are from all over the country. So the really big takeaway is I think we're providing better dental care. That's really the big takeaway, because that's what we're in business for, to provide good dental care for our patients. And I think it all transpires down from, we talk about leadership with your team members, but if your team is happy, then patients are going to be happy. It's just a fabulous program. I wish everybody in ADP could go to this Leadership Institute. Let's all be leaders.
As I was looking at that, I thought, you guys probably thought that I scripted that, but I assure you I did not. He was asked a question what the experience has been like for him, and this is how he responded. He actually graduated from the program 2 weeks ago. I'm very proud of him. He is one of our doctor owners and one of our dental groups, and he has just come so far. It's a privilege to work with him. So our business results, of course, this is a big investment, right? So what are our business results? What are we getting from this investment? And we are getting leaders like Dr. Stephen Knoll. When he started with our organization, actually, my very first experience at American Dental Partners, I was at an American Dental Partners conference, and I actually sat near him, and I didn't know who he was. And we were talking about convenience and, again, this notion of weekends and evenings for patients, and I heard him whisper to somebody, I'm not doing that. Been there, done that, not doing that. And I thought to myself, oh boy, we have a long way to go in this organization. Not only has he done that, I mean, you hear him say, I didn't know what climate was, I didn't know I created it, right? So the impact is people now know that they create climate. They now know that the climate they create is what drives people, what creates high performance or drives dissidence, right? So we've had a tremendous leadership impact across the organization. We've helped people to enhance their emotional intelligence, their leadership styles to drive that energizing climate. And again, the more energizing a climate is, the more motivated, inspired people are, the happier they are with one another, with the organization, the better care that they're going to give to patients. And as you heard him at the end, it's about a better patient experience. So we've had just a tremendous business impact from the Leadership Institute. I'd now like to share with you another person, another graduate of our Leadership Institute program, Janet McKeon, an operations manager from our affiliate in Minnesota Metro Dental Care. And before actually we cue this up, just a quick aside, if you look at Janet when she's talking and she looks emotional to you, it's because she is. And when this was filmed, they asked her the question, what has the Leadership Institute done for you? Before she got a word out, she started sobbing. And so they literally had to stop rolling. She collected herself, and then they taped her. So here she is.
My biggest takeaway from the Leadership Institute was learning early on about managing myself. And being able to do that, I was able to be more self-aware and really take a look at how far I was able to take my teams. Benefits to me is that the journey has both impacted my work life and my personal life. I'm able to better understand people. I'm better able to manage myself and my reactions to people. I'm more in control of my journey. I have a vision. I know what I want to be, and the Leadership Institute helped me just not go through the motions of following the path that was laid in front of me and actually having some control of that. I also have the benefit of working with a group of directors and operation managers who've all been through the Leadership Institute, and it's a wonderful group of people, and we get together for a couple hours every Monday, talk over the business, and we remind each other all the time that people come first. When we're having those conversations, we really need to make sure that we keep that in mind and that we're attacking the issues and not the people.
So some of the things that have come out of the Leadership Institute that have been unintended that we're also very just proud of is the common dialogue that it's created across our organization. So we've helped to get the culture and our values in here for people, and in doing so, has created that common dialogue. There's a connection with our vision and who we are and where we're going and why, and it's just been very powerful, as you heard Janet talk about. As they lace it into the business of everything that they do, they bring it with them. And it's created these trusted relationships. We have a doctor in Texas an oral surgeon in Texas that's helping a general practitioner in Minnesota with our oral surgery business in Minnesota. That never would have happened. Literally, these two individuals would not have known each other outside of the Leadership Institute. They create bonds and trusted relationships that just will last forever, and that's been very, very powerful in our business as well, as we've helped to connect people across this geographically dispersed organization in a very powerful and personal way. And it's created self-awareness. You heard Janet talk about, it's changed people. I hear feedback all the time from people who've gone through the Leadership Institute program or are going through it, say things like, this has helped my marriage. I have a better relationship with my children as a result of Leadership Institute. I have a better relationship with my team members. And one of the things that we never sort of set out to do was to change the whole person. And I can't tell you how proud we are that that the program has done that for some, or for many, I should say. And lastly, we've created that vision, that purpose, that legacy that we will all leave. You'll all leave a legacy. It's just whether or not it's intentional or unintentional. And we help, through the Leadership Institute, people realize what the legacy is that they want to leave and help them connect with it and provide that path to do so. And I'd like to just share maybe just a few closing words here about what the Leadership Institute has done for me. And what the Leadership Institute is funny because when we not funny maybe, but maybe sad, but when we graduate, it's a bittersweet moment for me when we have classes that graduate, because I too am on that journey with all of them through that 4-year period. And I connect with them, and I also am part of that group, and we create those trusted relationships and bonds. And when they're graduating, you know, they're all thanking me for everything I've done for them, and the other wonderful professionals that I work with on my team thanking us. And I literally turn to them and I say, no, thank you. Because first of all, as a professional in this space, having the opportunity to do something like this is incredible. So that, first and foremost, has been very powerful for me. And second is, I believe, and this is what we teach our leaders, that you can learn from everybody. And I can't tell you how much I have learned from them, and which has helped me in my work life and in my personal life. So the Leadership Institute has been just an incredible, incredible experience and journey for me as well. I encourage you all to consider how you can bring programs like this to your organization, and how you can impact people and sort of that whole person and connect them with their, not only your organizational culture, your values, your vision of where you want to go with, but where they fit into that, their ideal self, and how you can help them get there. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you here this morning, and I wish you the best.